Well, as you said, I was following through C-SPAN and the live feeds from NBC, and with technology nowadays, we don't quite get to be in the action as Jeff was, but I think it was really interesting overall for viewers, especially Virginia voters, to see Virginia front and center, literally at the Democratic convention, being right under the stage, seeing in the front row at many times Governor Terry McAuliffe, of course, Clinton's running mate, Virginia Senator Tim Kaine, and then on the GOP side, there was that initial kerfuffle over the rules, and seeing Ken Cuccinelli again in the spotlight, and then taking his his credentials off at one point from the floor. So I think Virginia remains a critical swing state, and of course with Kaine now as Clinton's running mate, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of him, and Trump and Mike Pence spending a lot of time in Virginia as well. It seems though they haven't given up on trying to win Virginia. As someone who works in television and understanding social media, these lengthy interactions on the convention floor, sometimes they get kind of boiled down to just a few seconds. So, of course, everyone who's in the hall has to think about what's going to be replayed on the highlights for the nightly news, what's going to be shared online. And one of the most, I would say, widely spread moments, at least from the beginning of the convention, was Ken Cuccinelli kind of taking off his credential, and it kind of, I guess, caused a scene. Breitbart News said R.I.P. to Cuccinelli's career. Maybe that's a bit of a hyperbole, so it remains to be seen where things go from here, but that's one perspective as a TV person. I had the chance to speak with Corey Stewart, who is perhaps a gubernatorial hopeful and was a member of the Virginia delegation. I spoke with him from Cleveland, and he said that Cuccinelli is not a never Trump person, but that he had issues with the way the rules, the process was handled, and that ultimately he's going to be supporting Trump, but he strongly favored Ted Cruz, and that there were perhaps some hard feelings still leading up to the convention. It was pretty unbelievable to see how social media had changed the game, because I saw Graham Mumah's video shared in international media outlets that, as you said, he was one of the only people who caught that particular moment of the night. So it's pretty wild to see how it's so immediate, and these things are spread so widely, so quickly.
I'd say it's downright viral.
Exactly. On that issue of the perception of Kaine, that for Republicans initially going into this, many of them had said, well, we might not agree with his politics, but we like him as a person. He's somebody who is genial, known for being a Catholic, but very quickly we saw the narrative kind of changing, that now they are attacking him for gifts that he accepted while he was governor, and this perception of him as a Washington insider, and that it's two Washington insiders. So I think the Republicans are trying to get some of those Bernie people on board. It remains to be seen if that's going to be effective or not, but I think the Republicans are really painting Kaine out to be someone who is a flip-flopper, who's steadily moved from a moderate Democrat over to the left on issues like abortion and gun rights. So it'll be interesting to see if any of these talking points work, or is Kaine someone who is such a likable person in Virginia to Democrats and some Republicans as well. I don't know how effective it'll be. Both parties still have a little bit of an issue as far as uniting the entirety of the base. I think most Republicans are going to end up supporting Trump. I think most Democrats will end up supporting Clinton, but I think both of them still, the conventions highlighted that there's still unrest on both sides. The polls largely show that both candidates are either unlikable or not trusted. So I think that this is going to be an issue that both Clinton, Kaine, and Trump, Pence are going to have to figure out heading into November, really making sure that they stay on message, and that for Clinton it might be setting aside the emails issue, finally coming to some type of an explanation that is, going to appease some folks who are unhappy. And then I think for Trump, a lot of Republicans, they want him to stay on message and focus on economy and security and Clinton's record, and not so much on some of these sidebar issues. The opinion that came out at the end of the day, though, as you said, there's the politics of it and then there's the legality. But the justices on the Virginia Supreme Court ruled pretty strongly in the prevailing side that the way that McAuliffe went about it totally went beyond the bounds of the Virginia Constitution. But immediately after essentially the way he carried this out was struck down. McAuliffe issued a release saying that he will be reviewing how he can be restoring the rights of these ex-felons. And I think one surprising thing, though, is that we haven't actually seen that happen yet. So it's kind of in a holding pattern. We have not seen any of those ex-felons' rights restored. 13,000 of them had actually registered to vote following that April executive order.